Hola gringos and gringos, and welcome to
Gringos Are Us.
Expats with a Plan.
I'm Mark.
I'm Gina.
This week, 2024, the money video. Coming up next.
Welcome back. This is our 2024 cost of living video in review, where we share with you what it costs us to live in the 7 cities that we resided last year.
Wow, 7 cities. Doesn't seem possible.
No.
Whew.
I've decided this year, a little different from last year, I've decided this year to include 1, the overall total cost of our stay, 2, what the actual Airbnb fee was per month, and 3, the estimated equivalent in rent. And there were a couple places that we had to pay electricity, like Progresso, which was actually last year.
That was last year.
Ignore Progresso. But we did have to pay electricity in Tulum. And we did pay a little bit of electricity. It wasn't a requirement, but we felt almost obligated.
In Tuxtla.
Yeah, because we ran the air the whole freaking time we were there.
And remember this, when we started in 2024, the exchange rate was in the 16s.
16s to 18s.
Yeah, I mean, but it was high 16s and fluctuating right around in there. By the end of the year, it was in the 20s.
Yes.
Low 20s, but so if you look at that, you're going, wow, that's a 20% bump right there.
It is, and you know, I did try to normalize things as much as I could. What I did is, at the end, we're also going to do a comparison to 2023. And what I did is I averaged all of 2023 out to about 18%, and I did all of 2024 at about 20%. And that could be a little higher than it really was, but it kind of,
we had to pick something. I mean, because as you see, a 20% fluctuation in the peso, that makes a big difference in the amount of money, especially if you're thinking about dollars. That changes your dollars dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, there were some times in some places we stayed where it was a 16.7 exchange rate. So it does matter. It makes a difference, but I tried to normalize this as much as possible. And actually, at the end, our expenses were a little surprising.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. I'm going to be looking over here. Mark will too. My laptop's over here. It's just to help us keep the numbers right. So when we're talking money, we give you accurate information. So you see us looking, that's what it is.
Otherwise, you'd be getting the BS, because it'd be like, I think it was about, or somewhere around. I mean, so the accurate information, you got to cut the eyes just a little bit. So
yes. So our first stay was in Playa Car. Remember, this was unexpected. This was not planned. We were never going to stay in Playa Car.
No.
But because it was snowbird season, it was a holiday, and it was last minute. We had very limited options. And let me tell you, the options that were available for the things that we needed only went higher. This was literally one of the least expensive options we had.
Much higher. And we looked everywhere on the Yucatan Peninsula. Progresso, Merida, Valladolid. We were scouting out any place that we could find a place to just rest our heads for 7 weeks until we could get back on our schedule. And Playa Car was it.
And so here we are. We stayed at Playa Car for 7 weeks. And that entire stay cost us about $5,028 USD. That's everything. That's activities, gasoline, food, eating out, all of it. The bulk of that, of course, is the Airbnb.
Oh, yeah.
The Airbnb was $3,683 a month with taxes and fees included. It did not cost us anything in utilities. All of that was included. That to date, I believe, we'll see at the end, I think that is still our highest stay.
I think so.
I think it is.
I think it is for Airbnb.
But again, and oh Lord, poor Mark, we get this all the time.
We'll address that.
We'll do that, a video all on its own.
Yep.
Airbnb versus rent. But the problem here is that because we're only staying for a few months at a time, we can't get a lease.
Right. This was literally, somebody please take pity on us and have an open space. And it was like, and unfortunately, Fanny at this place was actually, because we were looking for one more day out, because we were like, give us the time. And then she showed up and we were able to go, can we show up tomorrow?
Yeah.
Fine. Just make it after 4 so we got time to get it clean for you. And it was like,
it really
thank
was. It really was one of the nicest places we've stayed, and it should be. But also one of the nicest hostesses that we had. If that was rent, now keep this in mind, we're thinking about basically the average. We confirmed with Fanny, it would be about half.
yeah.
And we're also keeping in mind that that half would include all utilities. So there wasn't anything extra to pay.
Yeah, we've spoken with enough hosts and hostesses now to know that it is an additional 40 to 50%.
Yep.
Of that part of the monies that we pay, 40 to 50% of it is going to Airbnb. So there you go.
So to recap, our total stay in Playa Car was $5,028, and $3,683 of that was the Airbnb. If it was rent, it would have been about $1,841.
So that means we spent about $1,300 in miscellaneous groceries, restaurants, foods, things like that during our stay in Playa Car. And part of that, you could also say, was Krispy Kreme, because that's right, we went right back in there and there was Krispy Kreme right within walking distance.
We didn't really spend that much.
No, I'm joking.
He's joking. We actually didn't spend much at all, to be honest, because we knew we were paying a lot.
Yeah.
And we knew funds were getting finite, so we were being careful. Our next stay was in Tulum. Again, this was never a place that we had considered possibly living. This was strictly for convenience because of a music festival that was nearby that I wanted to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. And then I broke my arm.
Yeah.
So that entire stay, shockingly less than Playa Car, because I wasn't expecting this,
No.
$3,491. And $2,461 was the Airbnb. A very, very nice, stylish, and rather spacious Airbnb.
But we did pay electricity there.
But we did pay electricity.
There's a little bit of a offset there.
Yeah.
But space-wise and everything else, it was a much needed upgrade from Playa Car was a little tight. It was a very, very nice, but it was cramped. And suddenly we hit Tulum, and it was like,
Yeah, we had room, and we had issues with the beds, but I did anyway. So half of that for rent. This includes the electricity. If we paid electricity, I include it. Half of that would have been $1,279 a month. I don't think that's too terribly bad, although I do believe that's higher than what would normally be paid.
but it's Tulum.
It's Tulum. I know. The next big stay was Tuxtla Gutierrez for 5 weeks. And our total bill there was $3,445. We did pay electricity just out of the kindness of our hearts because we blew that air conditioner constantly. So the Airbnb itself, including the electricity that we paid, was $2,049 US. And half of that would have been $1,067.
And this one, unlike the last two, was not a condo. It was a full house. And we did eat out a lot.
We did.
In Tuxtla, because in the barrio that we were in, there was food that the smells wafted
it was
to us.
amazing.
And it was just like...
That neighborhood was great.
Yeah, that
really
was probably one of my favorite neighborhoods that we've stayed in.
I agree. And it wasn't anywhere near Centro. No.
No.
This was just some barrio north of Centro.
Yep.
And it was the bomb. And I want you to pay attention. Notice that I said rent is half of Airbnb. And those numbers right there don't jive. They don't jive. The reason is because I had Airbnb and I added the electricity.
Yeah.
Then I took half of Airbnb and again added the electricity. So that's why they kind of
don't quite mesh the way they're supposed to.
No, they don't.
But reality is what reality is.
Yes. The next stay was also for 5 weeks. That was San Cristobal de las Casas.
Bless you.
We loved that place. And we honestly didn't get out into Centro that much. It's just we loved the cabin.
That particular cabin hit us at exactly the right time. We needed a disconnect and we needed a break. We get there and we really did not have stable internet. So we weren't able to do any lives. Gina was struggling to get anything uploaded, but she was sort of ahead a little bit so we could take a break. And those 2 leather rockers out on the front porch. And then...
Oh, and the woods in the back.
And the
which
woods.
I thoroughly loved walking through.
And you could get the aroma. And then when at night, when it would rain, you could hear it beating on the roof. And it was just...
No, it was such a relaxing stay. It really, really was. It's not an area that I think we would ever permanently choose to live in just because of some of the... I don't know, political and unstable things that happen in the area. I'm not saying they're horribly dangerous. I'm just saying things happen that really do inconvenience you. And I get it. We're not going to go into that. But it's just the fact that it's not bad enough that we wouldn't want to go back and visit.
Oh, no.
We loved it there.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to drive all the way back to Tuxtla and then 20 minutes outside of Tuxtla just to get to the airport. So there's some infrastructure things there. But... would we rent that Airbnb again and spend time there?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, hell yes.
Oh, hell yes, as I would say.
That's right. So the 5 weeks we spent in San Cristobal de las Casas was an entire stay costing $3,325. Of that, $1,963 was the Airbnb. And of course, half of that, potential rent, $981 a month. Considering the state that it's in, the community that it's in, I do feel like those prices are higher than they should be. But you know what?
We were in a gated community that was outside of, I mean, we were removed from Centro. So sitting at the base of a mountain, and we lucked into that was just like the perfect place for us.
It worked out. It worked out really well. So the next place that we went to was La Crucecita. For those of you who don't know, that is basically Huatulco, the Bahías de Huatulco. Some of the most beautiful beaches I have ever seen in my life. Hotter than Satan's armpit. However,
great people. We met a lot of people there that we became friends with. I mean, Omar, Pepe, and Anna, or Claudia and Stefano.
Stefano.
And, I mean, but there was a lot there. It was easily walkable. We really did not take the car out very often because we didn't need to. We could walk to get just about everything.
Yeah.
And it was a very, very good stay and one that is on the list. I mean
there was a really, despite the heat, if we could find a way to reasonably deal with that heat, the vibe there was just phenomenal. It just felt very good.
And it was one of the first times that we've had to deal with the medical, with a doctor issue outside of going to the emergency room.
Right.
But I mean, but just a run of the mill, I need to go see a doctor, and blew us away with how simple and easy, and how a one-on-one doctor-patient, there's no nurses, there's no insurance company, there's no billings department. It's
pay the cash, be done.
How much? Oh, okay.
Oh, and if you don't have enough, just pay me the next couple of days.
You know, we need to come back on Saturday. You know what? I'm 500 pesos short. That's fine. Bring it on Saturday. I mean, it was,
And that's also a place where we also had some maintenance work done with the car. Mm-hmm. You know, very easy process. You know, Huatulco is just, again, it's so hot, but boy, I could live there if we just could deal with that heat a little bit. I definitely could live there.
you would definitely wear out some mini splits.
Yeah, you would. And you got to keep in mind too that because you're close to the ocean, you know that sea
Yes.
air is very corrosive, so you're going to cycle through new units. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
So our entire stay for a month, including all expenses we paid, at La Crucecita would be $4,261 per month. Mm-hmm. And that includes $2,664 in an Airbnb. We didn't have to pay any utilities. So half of that in an estimated rent is $1,332.
And that one was, the nice part about that particular unit was we were on the top floor, so we had the extra bedroom on there. The bad part about that unit was it was on the top floor, which means we had to walk up the stairs, so you know, groceries and everything
Moving
else.
things in and out
Yeah.
was hard. We had to hire somebody to help us the second time. But the area, I like the
Yeah.
area very much. And you can do really, really good there in rents, although they have seen their rents rise in the last few years. But you can do really good there in rents with a lease.
Oh, you could
Yeah.
you can go from spending buku to little. I mean,
Like we talked to Cindy and Fred, $550 a month.
yes. I mean,
But they have basically a very small, open concept, one room type living room, kitchen, dining area, and then a bedroom.
and a little office and a bathroom, and
It's a very small place. Or you can go to our friend's house overlooking the sea, and we don't know what that cost, but we're thinking it was pretty high up there.
because
So,
it was nice. And
it was extremely nice.
And trust me, they got a bargain on this, and yeah, but
Yeah.
so you really can run the gamut from being inexpensive to, you know, if you need all the creature comforts, they're available there.
Yes,
How much do you want to spend?
that's true.
So-
Oh my. Our next big stay was 11 weeks. We stayed in Oaxaca City. And that entire stay was $4,073 a month. And $2,606 a month was the Airbnb. We didn't pay any utilities, so half of that, $1,303, is the anticipated rent value for that property. Now, it was a huge piece of property.
Yes, it was.
There were some minor inconveniences due to the style of the property, like there was no water in the kitchen, but they did everything they could to really have the kitchen well appointed with all the
Yes.
needs that you have. You just walk across the Jardín to get your water, to do your dishes, etc. But it was so spacious.
And the Jardín was extremely nice, except at 2:30 or 3 in the morning when you know you're in your 60s and you go, yeah, it's time to hit the head, and it's raining, and you're like, and all you want to do is shuffle in, do your business, go back to bed,
Yeah.
and go back to sleep. Cold rain, both ways.
Yeah.
You get back and you're like, after you towel off to get back in bed, you're awake. It's like,
You know, and the thing is that the owners of the property have done such a wonderful
Yes, they
job
have.
renovating it, and they aren't done.
no,
They have plans.
to remedy that problem.
You know, they have plans to put like porch type
Awnings.
to protect you in bad weather like that. They have plans to connect the rooms internally in some ways. So, you know, it's a piece of property in development, but it really was such a unique house with the Jardín. I enjoyed our stay there very much.
Yeah, the house and the food.
And the food, oh my gosh, and boy did we eat. We ate a lot.
Well, duh. I mean, that was one that we suddenly went. You know, we had heard all sorts of people going around Mexico, and when we first came here, everybody said, Querétaro is just for food. And we get here, and when we first got here, we're like, we don't know what they're talking about. The food's great.
Food's great.
And then we've toured Mexico. Going to Yucatan and getting all the Yucatan Mayan recipes, and then you hit Oaxaca, and then you go,
holy crap.
oh, now I know what they're talking about. And so that's, we ate and we took advantage of an opportunity to partake of that great culinary experience that is Oaxaca, because
I mean, Oaxacan food is the bomb, guys.
Yeah.
It's you can't beat it. I don't know. But
even I say that.
yeah, and he's not even into half the stuff I eat. So, gosh, the mole negro.
Maybe 10% of what she eats.
Yeah, I eat almost everything, don't I? Well, then we moved on to our last place of the year, the city of Puebla. Now, Puebla was expensive, but Puebla was in the center of a big city. The convenience of location.
Location, location, location. We were in Centro, and I mean,
Yes.
we were 3 blocks from the cathedral. I mean, it just was like,
Think about how much rent might cost you if you lived in Manhattan. If you lived in the center of the city in Atlanta or
just to be
San Diego.
Just to be fair,
Yeah.
here in Querétaro, when we were coming back and looking to stay here for 7 months, we found a place that was in Centro.
Yes. And we wanted it.
And we liked it a lot. And
Yes.
there were some things that we were giving up. Like, it didn't have its own parking, but it had a deal with the parking lot that was right around right at the end of the building there.
Yep.
And and it was more expensive than this.
It was.
So-
and I couldn't get them to go off platform and
Nope.
let us pay less either, even though we said we were going to pay for 6 months. It was expensive. So it all comes down to location. And we do realize this was expensive, but in comparison to other major cities around the world, not so much.
No, and it was in par with Mexico for the location that
Yes.
it was in.
Yes.
It was in par. And hardwood floors, not laminate, hardwood.
Hardwood floors.
Quality.
Yes, high-end appliances.
I mean,
quality furniture.
a very secure building with a parking lot that, if you didn't have the key fob, you weren't getting in. And, if you didn't have the special keys and know the special handshake and everything else, you weren't getting in.
Let me just say, I felt very pampered staying in this place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what that cost us. So 1 month stay, literally
Which was all we were there for.
4 weeks. The entire stay had cost us $5,093 US. And of that, $3,513 was the Airbnb, and an estimated 50% of that was $1,756 potentially for rent. I did confirm with our host that type of apartment in that central location would run between $1,500 and $2,000 a month. And I'm assuming that includes utilities because
this one included all the utilities, included our water. If the Garrafon ran out, all we had to do was call the concierge of the building and let them know, and all of a sudden, bang, here's the water. And they happened. We were out, and knocked, let himself in, put the Garrafon in, boom, we're done.
Exactly.
And we weren't worried a bit about the fact that he went into the house while we were there. Not a problem whatsoever.
No. And that stay in some of our total, we did hire somebody. We didn't really hire them. They provided housekeeping. We just gave her a tip.
Yes.
And we gave her a bonus the last one because it was
Christmas.
It was close to Christmas.
Yes. And got a huge smile and a hug out of that.
Sure. And and those details will come whenever we actually do our cost of living wrap up for Puebla. But since it was the end of the year, we want to get this out. We're throwing it in there for now. Of course, down below, you will find links for every single cost of living video that we had done for 2024. And you can watch those individually if you're interested in that particular city.
Yeah, if a particular city hits you and go, what, what's this one like? You can go. We have a wrap up that includes the cost and what our take on it was, and then of course there's always here's their Airbnb, and then there's interesting things to do. And
Yep. So this was interesting. I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this. I wanted to compare 2023, 7 cities, to 2024. And what we ended up with was a average cost for Airbnb per month, just the Airbnb, $2,272 last year, 2023, compared to $2,703 for 2024. It did go up. Did it go up because of location? Well, I don't know. Did it go up because of inflation? I don't know.
Well, I think there's a couple things that really skewed that number. The cheapest Airbnb that we had was in San Luis Potosi, which was in 2023. We also got a very good deal on ours when we were in San Miguel de Allende. So those two helped keep the number down.
But that same Airbnb this year in San Luis Potosi is $100 a month more.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is but those were the two cheapest that we had the entire time, and they were in 2023. And then you had to throw in the fact of the last minute stay in Playa Car, which greatly increased the number. And so inflation, time of the year that we booked them, exchange rate, there's all sorts of things that sort of went into that made us go, okay, that's not all of it is going to be an Airbnb fee increase. A lot of it is, but there is some that is because of locations and things like that.
And so back to that slide. So in 2023, our average estimated rent was $1,167. And in 2024, that went up almost $200 to $1,363. So that is almost a 19% increase in 1 year.
Yeah.
And it's due to all the things he just said. And I think that's important for us to mention for just a moment. If you are choosing to live in Mexico, you should always allow in your budget at least a 20% buffer. Because your exchange rate going up and down, depending on how high your rent may be, that could be a huge hit. You know, if your budget is so tight that there's no wiggle room, then you're living beyond your means.
Yeah, because I mean, if you find a place that you really like and the exchange rate's at, let's just say 20, and you go, oh, 30,000 pesos, that's $1,500 a month, and this has got everything I need. That's great. Well, that exchange rate suddenly drops down to 16. There's a 20% increase in your rent, which means instead of it now being $1,500, it's $1,800.
Yeah.
So there's a $300 increase just because the exchange rate dropped.
Yes.
And both of those numbers have been seen by us in 2024. So what Gina's telling you as far as make sure you have that buffer. You make your budget based on it being down here, and when times are up here, you're going, yeah, let me buy some pesos now and put them in my bank because that's,
Absolutely. It's what you have to do. This isn't a stable living situation. It fluctuates too much. And you just got to be prepared for that.
Especially
no surprises.
If you're living on dollars and spending in pesos, you have to build that buffer in there.
Yep. Okay. So now I'm going to show you just a snippet from the spreadsheet that I actually work from when I was figuring this all out. And just to show you, the green means that we saw a percentage drop from 2023 to 2024, and the red means it went up. So let's look at this. Our accommodations in general went up 12.67% between 2023 and 24. But notice when you drop down to the bottom, the Airbnb rate actually was almost 19%, and the average rent was almost up 16%. The reason there's variation there is because of things such as
utilities
and things like that. So that's why the rate is higher at the bottom than it is at the very top for accommodation. It's because I had to include utilities, and that's part of it. If you were renting, you would have utilities too.
Yes.
Now, most of the time Airbnb does not cost utilities, but some places where you have to run the air conditioning in a lot, they ask you to pay it.
Especially if it's at a higher electricity rate, then they really go,
Oh yeah.
yeah, here's the bill.
Now, we also paid more in 2024 for activities that we did. So we saw a 50% increase there. But we did do some things, some big things.
I think that when we first got down here, we did a lot of let's just jump in the car, and we drove to certain things.
And then yes.
And we did
Yes.
we did a lot of that
on our own.
and we were sort of like, yeah, let's just do this. And then when we started getting into
Tuxtla. Well, we were
in the states of Chiapas and Oaxaca,
Yes.
it just felt a little better to do. And some things we couldn't do. I mean, couldn't get in the boat, the car, and drive to the beaches in Oaxaca and in Huatulco. But taking the tour in San Cristobal, that would I have wanted to do that in our car? No.
No. I
No.
mean, sometimes it's just better just to have a tour guide who knows where they're going, who can explain things to you. So we take options. We'll do a tour guide when we can afford to do so. Also, our medical insurance did go up, and our car insurance went up. That's just regular inflation. So we saw an increase in that between 2023 and 24.
Groceries went down.
In
Believe it or
medical.
not.
Groceries went down. I think we got smarter.
I think so.
I think we didn't buy as much, and we got better at looking at what we had left right before we went somewhere else.
And we also got away from our U.S. way of thinking of, well, why are we going to spend something and buy a small container when it's cheaper by the ounce to buy the bigger container, but we're only there for 6 weeks. Buy the smaller container so it was gone.
Right.
And so we weren't wasting as much, and that
And
became...
we took advantage of mercados whenever we
Yeah.
could. If we had a mercado that was close to us, we did try to shop at those. You do save money doing that. So, and I think also we did better with our groceries, in part because we were paying more for Airbnb. And I was looking at ways to really keep our budget tight because remember, I didn't work at all last year.
No. And you know,
We had no money coming in, really.
we had a little bit coming, we had the Social Security coming in,
Yeah.
and then we had a little bit coming from YouTube, but it was,
It was rapidly
we were
decreasing.
watching the end point rapidly approaching.
So that's why you're going to see, look at all this green. We spent less on personal services, less on restaurants, transportation, utilities. We spent a lot less.
yeah,
And where it says totals for Airbnb and it's minus 12.8%, what that means is our total expenditure for the month at Airbnb rate, and then our total expenditure for the month if it was rent. Overall, we spent a lot less.
Yeah.
And we did that because the money was dwindling and the Airbnb rates were increasing.
and we got smarter.
we
I
got
think,
smarter.
well, some people would say that's impossible for some of us, but but we took advantage of the situations and experiences taught us that, go to the Mercado, if you hit the first fruiteria that you're going to see, you're going to pay more. Walk to the inside
Yep.
and you're going to save 5, maybe 10 pesos on exactly, bananas might be 20 pesos a kilo here. They might be 15 by walking another 50 to 100 feet.
So let's talk about the wrap up here. 2024 monthly cost of living. I'm just going to give you some key numbers in addition to what we paid in rent. So of course we said the lowest average in rent and utilities was $981
San Cristobal.
rent, estimated rent. I'm
Right.
just kind of knocking Airbnb out altogether and just giving you the estimated rent. The lowest was San Cristobal at $981 a month, and Playa Car was still the highest at $1841 a month.
That's Playa Car. Before I hear it from anybody else, that is not Playa del Carmen.
No.
There are much lower rent rates in PDC than there are inside the gates of Shangri-La that is called Playa Car. So,
Yeah. And then our average groceries for the month, for the whole year, we average about $432 a month. That's pretty darn good because our averages were running $500 to $550 the previous year. So we did save money this year. And average medical bills were running us about $63 a month. And when I say medical bills, I'm talking about doctor's appointments, follow-up appointments. I'm not talking about the emergency room with my arm, but I am talking about the appointment I made to get the cast off, the x-ray I got to get the cast off, the surgery I had to have in Huatulco, things like that.
and our meds.
And meds.
Maintenance meds.
Maintenance medications.
Yep.
So $63 a month. I'm not talking about our insurance. You can have insurance. Insurance didn't pay for any of that.
No, that's
That's
all.
out of pocket. So that was our out of pocket medical expenses that we just paid without any insurance claims. So I don't know. We're getting smarter, or we're getting more frugal, or both.
I think it's a mix mash of the two. I think
Yeah.
that experience and then of course at the end of the year we were going.
Oh yeah, we were really being cautious with our spending. So
And then suddenly it was, we have a contract. Hallelujah. I mean, so
Yeah.
it was like, yes.
yeah, so that's it. That's 2024 cost of living over the 7 cities that we stayed in, and a comparison to what we spent in 2023. We hope that you found that enlightening.
Yeah, the numbers are there. We're sharing them with you. And yeah, inflation, not just on the other side of the border, it's worldwide. You're getting it down here as well. So, we saw the increased price of beans went up.
Avocados
Went up. Yeah. So, keep that in mind that it may start out lower, but the inflation rate is going into effect. And when they continue to increase the Mexican minimum wage, that's also factored in. That's going to help keep the inflation rate growing.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So,
true. Because when you raise the minimum wage, and there's a new tax. There's a tax increase on gasoline. Well, everything in Mexico runs on gasoline, including your electricity. So, delivery charges for truck drivers, ship imports, airplanes, everything that's affected by those tax increases.
and the sin taxes.
And the sin taxes,
Yep.
tobacco.
And alcohol.
Yeah. So, inflation will continue. We just have to learn how to work with it.
Got to massage it the best we can.
Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a thumbs up, and subscribe and share with your family and friends. It helps our channel grow, and we do appreciate that. We are Gringos R Us.
Expats with the plan.
Remember, we're doing it.
You can too.
And over here
There's a wall. Oh, and videos on the wall. Okay.
with videos. Oh gosh, hasta la próxima.
Adios.